Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. And listen, I really enjoyed catching up with Jace Payne. He's a bright young star here in coastal Mississippi. He's doing such a great job for the city of Gulfport. They have so many things going on in the Gulfport. In fact, more recently, my friend Pete Vicari and his sons opened the new VIP RV park right there at the corner of Cowan Road and Highway 90. If you've driven by, you see they put millions of dollars into that incredible space, and you can already see it starting to fill up. So people, why not? I mean, it's in such a great location. Anyway, it's great to see what's going on in Gulfport. It's great to see that my friend Jace is doing really well. So now let's shift gears and move over to Hunter Dawkins from the Gazebo Gazette, and also he's a SuperTalk opinion contributor and a jack of all trades. You have to be a jack of all trades when you're the president and publisher of a small newspaper. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Ricky. That's correct. It's very fun. You know, the last few weeks, really, with the graduation starting to come in and more baseball and softball and things as such. It's fun times.
Well, you try to do a lot, man. I mean, as we've talked about, you keep up with the Saints. You can't help but keep up with Southern Miss. Of course, Southern Miss baseball is moving along pretty well. You paid attention closely to the Pelicans, who kind of sputtered at the end of the season. They got into the playoffs, but that didn't last very long. It's kind of an interesting time as far as just being a publisher, because you got plenty of things you can be focused on, don't you?
Of course. Well, and the ads are picking up too this time of year because everybody's having a start of the summer, as you can tell by the heat coming through already. And also too, there's events that are happening. Everybody's, trying to move forward with the upcoming summer at least, and then hopefully, get pushed in the fall.
It's a beautiful time of the year. You look out, some of the, we've had some rainy days, but we've had some, say on a scale of 1 to 10, we've had some 20s lately. Just, some gorgeous reminders of why we live in coastal Mississippi. But you feel summer coming on, the heat starting to, get there. And also, as Jason and I discussed, it means that the active hurricane season, we've been dodging bullets. We didn't have any big scares last year. They say it's going to be a super active season this year. Let's hope not, but I'm afraid that we'll be on our toes this season. Let me put it that way, and we'll pray that we're not have to stay on our toes for too long. But I'm sure you thought about that too, huh?
Well, Ricky, and I'm sure that you remember this very well, being the publisher of the Sun Herald, at least, that you got to worry about and be concerned with your boxes, at least vending boxes. Being the paper, and that I've got about 25, 26 boxes, and I've got to make sure those that are south of the interstate, close to the beach, that I've got those under control and things are going this way and that. But that's just a little small town community newspaper. That's the way life goes. So.
Hey, I wish I could remember the stats. I used to have these stats on the top of my head, but they've kind of faded away. But after Katrina, I used to say this, we had, there might be 200 carrier routes, after Katrina, almost half of those routes no longer existed. The houses on those routes were no longer there. Yep. Single copy. Of course, a lot of, as you pointed out just now, the boxes, the single copy racks that you buy newspapers from, were, a lot of those were along Highway 90 and, tourist areas where people could easily get to them. And the number of Sun Herald boxes that were just wiped off the face of the earth. Yep. People don't think about that, but that was one that hopefully we'll never have to deal with that again. But where we were challenged on every single dimension of our lives, period. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Well, and it's from a small town community newspaper like myself. It's more of a collection of, because it costs, I get quarters generally out of there once a month. I try to pick up some quarters, and there's always, even if it's not necessarily a lot in the location, I'm always putting a little bit back to the fund that is going to help me drive around and do that. So
Yeah. So, hey, so let's kind of work through it on the local level. As far as Pastor Christian is concerned, how things going? Any big news there these days?
yeah, there is some big things happening. I'm not sure how aware you are, Ricky, but there's a drainage project going back behind on North Street because in Long Beach and Pasco Christian, the drainage pipes are fairly old, and they've gotten enough money to be able to kind of redo that. But both cities, Long Beach hasn't exactly taken the initiative to, but they're working on that. They're working on fixing the situation. But Pasco Christian is already in the middle of it, and of course you get this little small complaints, and valid complaints of people's driveways being packed by mud and things like that. But it's more or less an alderman discussion, a little city discussion about how and when and can we fix this and this, that, and the other. And of course, they're trying to create sidewalks by the schools and all that, which is a project they had been working on before Katrina. But it's more or less just little news that's trying to add some things up together. And also, there was this last weekend was Blessing the Fleet, which is a huge event, for the Pasco Christian and Alderman Kirk Kimball has really done a great job of putting together, and he has worked with the city and Mayor Rafferty trying to restart that event because it's been pretty rough for most of the commercial fishermen in the harbor with the closing of seasons and the not so much assured how things are going. Especially, you see what former Mayor Bilosi out of Biloxi has been doing, putting this Mississippi Sound Coalition together with a legal suit. And very fortunately for him, all the coast cities have sided up with that. And I was lucky enough to hear that conversation that he had with the supervisors last week. So
I'm excited about what they're doing. They've had tremendous success. I mean, if for nothing else, the Corps of Engineers now has to consider the impact on the Mississippi Sound. Yeah. And one of the things that Gerald told us as well, and Moby's been on the Moby Solange, who's involved in that effort as well, that no longer is it just about the Bonnie Carey and potentially the Maganza, but there's some opportunities even north of there. And then aside from that, that's about relieving the pressure on the Mississippi River such that New Orleans won't flood. You have, on top of that, the Breton Sound Diversion Project, which is a whole different thing. And I think between Mississippi and commercial fishing interest and all that, there's a chance they're going to stop that project. So I would be thrilled if they did.
Well, Ricky, too, also, the Mississippi River Commission, which is a federal commission, it's very important. There's lots of decisions are made between that commission and the Army Corps of Engineers. Mississippi has no person on there, and that's got to be changed. And of course, I agree with Mayor Bilosi that you have to have somebody. I mean, throughout the state, somewhere in the Mississippi, whether it be in the Delta or down there on the coast, that it affects, your area. And I think that we deserve to have somebody on there. I mean, heck, the Mississippi River is named after our state. So,
yeah, no, right. There's no doubt. Hey, look, let's do a little bit of rapid fire for the rest of this segment, and then we'll come up at the in the last segment and continue. But you had the opportunity to attend the USM baseball game where they played Ole Miss last week, and Ole Miss lost that game. Southern Miss is, they're starting to put it all together. Some question, are they as good as they were last year? But what's your read on Southern Miss? Is there a chance they're going to have a run here at the end?
I think they will, very possibly. The fact is, when you play an SEC opponent, as Southern has in the past, they're, depending on how their season is going, is really dependent on what they do when they show up against them. Ole Miss has obviously been in a very struggling mood, this year especially. The pitching, they've had some injuries, a little bit of youth here and there, but Ole Miss is a solid SEC team, and they can, of course, beat anybody in the SEC at any time, just like Southern can beat anybody in the Sun Belt in any given time. But the important thing that I really think with the game was last week was when USM got up, Ole Miss didn't come back. And that's the most important thing. Normally, when a team as USM puts up, normally Ole Miss would come back.
Yeah, so Southern Miss. It's fun watching them. They've had a great baseball program for some time now, and hopefully this year will be another one we can watch well into the postseason. Wouldn't that be cool? Listen, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Hunter Dawkins from the Gazebo Gazette. We'll see you after this. From the big-time award-winning Gazebo Gazette. Don't count small newspapers out when you're talking about awards and the ability to serve a community. Hunter Dawkins is here to play ball, and he's serious. Speaking about Southern Miss and how they're playing ball, Hunter's playing ball too.
Well, I'll tell you this, Ricky. With all of these, my dad was talking to me about this. He's like, "You sure as heck have a lot of awards on." I said, "Yeah, well, that sure as heck, like yourself, that means I work pretty hard at this, and I've been doing it." And I'm sure the same thing too. So
yeah, there's no doubt. Okay, so let's come back to sports for a second. Listen, I have Jeff Duncan and I have had good conversations about this, and what I'm reading about the Saints draft has been A's and A pluses down the ranks. I think it's awesome that we might have our future quarterback in the house now. We are addressing the issues as it relates to the offensive line. We got a new offensive coordinator and entirely new staff there. And then the early reads on the recent rookie minicamp was really good. So you've been watching it very closely.
Well, yes, and however, and I think Jeff would agree with me on this, that you have to be very careful in how you grade the draft, because because the picks were very good and it was very quality, and how the Saints pulled out the right measures. The draft is only what potentially could happen. There's no definite what's going to happen, and a lot of times, especially for undrafted free agents, they generally pick up, and those are guys that usually are very contributory, at least in the Saints' history, of a special teams level, or a starting level, at least. I mean, look at the Saints. I mean, having Michael Lewis, when he was a kick returner, they pulled off the street as a beer truck driver. I mean, that's just to show you how important that it is getting into looking at who you're seeing. And the principle of the draft is its potential, and that's why everybody likes it. But there's no definite surety until it happens. And I agree with you on Rattler. Rattler I saw him play at the Senior Bowl, very quality player, but he's going to need some time. He's going to need Derek Carr or somebody to help develop him. Of course, as Aaron Rodgers said one time, and Brett Favre, it's not my job to develop another player, but it's still, I think, going through that playbook, working with Kubiak for a couple of years, he could end up very talented.
Well, in both of those situations, both with Brett Favre and with Aaron, you had a situation where they both had to wait in the wings and learn and be in a position where when they're ready, they're ready. But no one who has seen Rattler throw the ball has come out of it with anything other than dude can throw the ball. I mean, not only does he have a strong arm, he has an incredibly accurate pass. I mean, he zips it out. Very quick release. That's what they look for in an NFL quarterback.
And Ricky, he's a good football player, but I also take it back to the level of did his team, I'm an old school guy. Did he help his team win games?
Yeah.
And that's what he's got to work on development at least throughout his career. And also too, I'm not, I know a lot of people are going after Dennis Allen all the time, but the only thing that I really, trying to question him, he's already putting players like Fuaga and Kool-Aid in positions of where they're already starters. No, we have to develop these guys. You don't get drafted in the NFL, and I actually feel pretty bad for most Bears fans, because it's almost like I heard something about the coach saying, "Well, Caleb's already the starter. Caleb Williams, the first draft pick's already the starter." Well, you have to go through camp. You have to be a player. You have to be doing all these things to make yourself better than the rest. You don't just come into the league and it's given to you. I mean, look at Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He had a terrible rookie season.
Yeah, he did.
But he developed.
So. Mark my words, though, Fuaga is starting.
I believe it. Well, yeah,
he's starting.
Right. I believe you're right.
He's gonna be a beast. I've loved some of the interviews I've seen with him, how mature he is, and how first of all, he's just a beast of a dude to start out with, but he's just mature and thoughtful and articulate, and man, he's gonna be a great addition. And they've added some veteran help that's going to be terrific. So, they're moving in the right direction.
Well, and I agree with you, Ricky. But remember, we had the same thing with Trevor Penning, and we just have to get those guys to develop each other and work together.
No doubt about it. Hey, listen, it's been great to catch up with you, Hunter.
Hey, you take care of yourself, Ricky, and hopefully we'll be getting moving forward with the summer soon. So.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. This has been Hunter Dawkins, publisher and owner of the Gazebo Gazette, and also a contributor to SuperTalk Mississippi News. Listen, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.